Yo, what's up guys, it's NLW here, back again with another video. Today I'll be sharing my top tips and tricks for making a WWE pic fed or stop motion show. But before I get into the video, hit that like button as it really helps get these videos out there, and subscribe for more figure related content. Now before I start, if you click the icon in the corner of your screen, it'll take you to the playlist I made around 2 years ago, my original guide on how to make a WWE pic fed. That pretty much covers most of the key things you want to consider when making a show, but this video will be more of an informal chat, just a few tips of the trade that I've picked up over the years of doing this. But let's start off from the beginning. You've seen your favourite pic fedders and your favourite shows with WWE figures on YouTube, and you think, you know what, I want to give it a go, I want to try it. And it's difficult to start, it was for me, certainly. But how do you start? Well, first of all, get a roster of around 20 wrestlers, pick about 20 figures and say, I'm going to use these for my show and only these to start off with. It'll make sure your shows don't become too complex, and if you're just starting off, then it'll mean that viewers are more easily following along with your storylines. Planning is key, you don't want to wing it because otherwise things will become confusing, not only for the audience, but for yourself too. Like I said in the how to write a pic fed video, just pick a pay-per-view, make a fantasy pay-per-view, and then build your shows towards that. It makes the whole writing process so much easier if you do that. I won't go over it in too much detail, I already explained it in that video, but have some dream matches, you know, make it interesting, make it unique. Pick a style. MDT's got his kind of modern style, and the same with like GCW and that. And then you've got Captain McKay, who's got his kind of grungy attitude era, and then Spam Wrestling, his ruthless aggression kind of style. Have your own aesthetic is what I'm trying to say. Like NLW, I kind of draw on the ruthless aggression kind of era. It's a bit more modern now, but you want something that sets your show apart. You may even choose to storyboard your moves. You might have a certain number of moves that you want to incorporate, and just write those spots down, just draw spots. They might not even be the best drawings in the world, but it gives you an idea of what moves you want to make, how you're going to make the match you're making interesting for a viewer to watch. And then once you've got the writing out of the way and you actually start filming, one thing, the key, is lighting. Good lighting makes or breaks a pic fed. I've seen some pic feds where the matches have been decent, but the pic fed lighting is just awful. I have a photography lamp, it might be good to invest in one of those. You need a consistent light source, a bright light source, make the pictures clear, make them high def. An iPhone camera would do the trick, to be honest. You just don't want it looking blurry or pixelated. Check your photos as you're doing them, and watch other people's shows for inspiration. Look at their styles, don't outright copy anyone, because no one wants to see a cheap riff off of somebody else. Make your show unique. And I forget to add as well, preferably use elites. I've tried to use basics, especially the new basics. They are not good for pic fedding or animating, you can barely pose them at all, so I would stick to elites if you're doing a show. In terms of FPS and smoothness of the animations, this is more to do with stop motion at the moment. You know, you want to have about, I'd say 10 to 12 pictures per second, running at 24 frames a second obviously, so you work on twos, that's how they talk about it in stop motion terms. But yeah, that's about 10 to 12 photos a second you want to make it smooth enough, probably even more than that, because then at least in post-production you can cut away the photos that you don't actually need. It's better to take too many photos than too few. And in terms of pic fedding, 1.1 seconds is prime optimum, but when I pic fed I like to do 0.7 because I like a little bit of a faster pace, but do just use what works for you. Anywhere between, I'd say 0.7 seconds to 1.2 seconds is fine for a pic fed. For stop motion, 10 to 14 pictures a second I would say. And if you really want your animations to be smooth, probably about 20 you want to look for, but 10 is just how many I use personally. There's animators out there who are much better at the actual animation aspect of it than me, and they'll probably tell you 20 to 24 frames a second. And I also got asked a while back, how do I make longer matches? Well, you just have to plan it out. It's pure and simple as that. I think a lot of people make short matches because they're doing it without following a script. Personally, I like using a script. If you don't, that's fine, but in my opinion, it makes it much easier. If you write out a script, you know exactly how long your match is going to be by the amount of moves there are, and then you kind of pad it out in between. And with pic fed as well, I've learned to judge how long a match is actually going to be by counting the amount of photos I've got. So for instance, if you're using, 1 second per photo, then that means for about 6-minute match, I can't do the maths too quick in my head, it's around 360 I think. And yeah, and if you are making longer matches, make sure they're interesting, because I've made a lot of longer matches that are actually just boring, so you got to manage to keep the audience attention is what I'm trying to say. Come up with some fun creative spots. And then when you come to edit, Premiere Pro is quite good. Then again, I use Sony Movie Studio and it works just as well, so I use that. It would work for pic fed, I'm not sure. With stop motion, you might want a different kind of stop motion software. There is no set time that a picture has to be on screen, so for the people asking, what should my animation settings be? You have to figure that out yourself. You have to practice, see what works, see what doesn't, really time it, and you know what? Ask your audience. That's what I'm going to go on to now as well. I would say in the community, it's important to, when you're giving a criticism of someone, don't be mean. And it seems obvious to say, but you need to be constructive. You can't just say, this looks bad. You need to say, this is how it will make it better. The strategy isn't to go on other people's channels and ask if people can check out their channel. The strategy is upload something, people will find it. Trust me, they found me, and I've probably made comments on other channels saying, oh, check out my animations, but back then I didn't know any better. What you need to do is just upload your stuff, and people will come, they will check it out, and they will give advice. And the most important thing is to take that advice on board and use it to get better. That's what I've done, and there's still advice that I'm getting these days, and you know what, I listen to it, I take it in, and I try and apply it to my stop motion, because that's the only way you're going to improve. And don't be disheartened if people don't like your show. People didn't like my show at the start, thought it was terrible, but it got better, and you can see that if you go on No Limits Wrestling every episode ever, you'll see how I've improved over time. So I'm just saying, I started like that, and now look where I am. And I'll tell you what, in like a week's time, I'll upload my old show notes, and I might even be able to find an old DVD of the stop motions that I did before I even started NLW, so do look out for that in the coming weeks. And one final note about editing with sound effects and stuff, people ask me all the time. I hope to put that question to bed now. Type in WWE sound effects, KWE, because KWE, and they have some very good sound effects on their channel that I believe he says they're free to use, so that's where I've got my sound effects from. And a final note about motivation. A lot of people say that they lack motivation, or that's one of the things that they struggle with. At the end of the day, you have to be enjoying what you're doing. If you're not feeling it, don't do it. There's no point. And there is something about pushing through it, but you need to be doing this because you enjoy doing it, not because you feel like you have to be doing it or people are missing you on the channel. I don't know, but it depends what you're thinking. That motivation has to come within yourself, and you shouldn't try and force it. That's why I kind of built up a bulk library of animations to upload over the coming weeks. So I've animated up until... You know what, I've animated up until like April, some stuff until then, and that allows me, personally, if I do have a lull in motivation, then I can take a break and it won't affect stuff on the channel. And I'm sure if I wanted to take a longer break, you guys would be understanding, I'm sure. Yeah, if you feel like it's stressing you out or it's not going your way, put it down, come back to it later. There's no point burning yourself out. That's my key advice. A lot of people may not find that writing stuff down is for them, and that's completely fine. If you want to wing it, wing it. That's what I'm going to be doing with my NLW 24/7 series. I'll have a few spots written, but the matches will be more unscripted. But personally, it helps a lot if I know what moves I'm going to be doing, because then it gives me an idea of how I'm going to pose the wrestlers or how it's going to work. Look at figures, imagine the fantasy matches that you could do with them, then write some storylines, and just write ideas on a notepad or even on your phone, whatever. You have to think ahead and give things a logical order in what's going on. Style and presentation is very key as well. So you look at someone as popular as My Damn Toys and his pick fed. He's got he's got some good content as well, but the presentation itself is top notch. And when you look at the people who are most popular doing this on YouTube, their presentation is fantastic. Just take Stage Creator for example. I mean, action figure matches may not be everyone's cup of tea, but his actual presentation is superb. It's top notch. It's probably the best there is. You need a good quality setup, good matches, and again, this comes with practice. You've seen my original setups and you've seen how far I've come with that. If you don't know what name to choose as well, just pick one, but try and make it stick. I'm glad I chose No Limits Wrestling. I was going to go with Extreme Figure Wrestling. I'll get to that in my behind the scenes video of the old stop motions I did, but I'm glad I've chosen No Limits Wrestling. Choose a name that you think you're going to be happy with in 10 years, even if you're not doing this in 10 years. Keep your matches fresh, and I remember a specific comment. I can't remember it off the top of my head exactly who said it, but at the end of the day, you just gotta have fun with it. And even if you don't take any of this advice, if you're having fun with it, that is fine. You don't have to be doing this for anyone other than yourself. And if you watch the shows back and you enjoy them, then that's good. That's why you should be doing it. There seems to be a worry sometimes with, I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not getting the views that I want. Views don't equate to success. Your own personal success comes from if you're enjoying the work that you're doing, and if you feel fulfilled and you enjoy the output that you're making and the content you're creating. Even if you just affect one person, that's good enough in my opinion, because I have to slap myself sometimes. I'm thinking, you know what, the channel's successful, but it's not as successful as it could be, and there's always room to grow. And then you've got to kind of ground yourself and think, you know what, I have a lot of people that enjoy what I do, and that is just a bonus to me. So if you worry about what people are going to say, don't worry about it. Put it out there. If it gets a bad response, work on it, improve it, go back to NLW episode 8, and hear how I sounded on commentary. It was atrocious. And now today, I can confidently speak to you guys on a face-to-face level, no problem. So it just comes with time. It comes with practice. You have to be doing it because you're enjoying it, not because anyone else is enjoying it. Although, I have to say, thank you guys for watching. I don't know if I missed anything out. Like I said at the start of this video, it's more of an informal chat than anything else. So I do apologise if it was a bit rambly, but those are just a couple of the tips and tricks I would advise you guys to take on board. Once again, in the iCard in the top of your screen, click on that and you'll be led to the playlist of original tutorials that I did. Hopefully this has given some of you a refresher and a couple of tips to take on board. If you do have any questions, leave them in the comments below. In fact, I don't usually like when people advertise their channels in the comments of my videos, but I'll make an exception for today. If you have a pick fed, or you have a stop motion show or a channel, whatever it may be, tell people about it. And also, if you've got any questions about what I've said, any questions at all about how to improve, again, drop a question in the comments for me. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button as it really helps the channel. And if you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button as we're trying to edge closer to 30,000 subs. And if there's anybody that doesn't know about NLW yet, tell them to come my way. Hope some of these tips and tricks were helpful to you guys, and I'll catch you all later.